So it's finally here. After nearly 2 years of wait, Denis Villeneuve's Dune has finally arrived. How is it? Let's talk about it.
Get everything with guns off the ground! Go!
This is an extermination. They're picking my family off one by one.
So before I give you my actual thoughts on Dune itself, I thought I would give you guys my background before going into Dune 2021. Did I know anything about Dune? No, I didn't, and I'm still not a mega fan. I know more now that I've actually seen the film, but I've not read the book or books. I'm pretty sure there's multiple. I've not seen the past versions. The only thing I knew about the film before going into it is what I saw in the trailers. So that was my background going into Dune 2021. So, in terms of a Dune noob, I guess you can call me, what did I think of Dune 2021? I really liked this film, like, a lot. Do I think it's the best film of the year? Probably not, but it's definitely one of the best films of the year. Dune gave me everything I like in blockbusters. Really great characters, amazing visuals, perfectly directed sequence, great dialogue, characters, memorable action sequences, and a film that keeps you thinking, and a film that you're probably going to be talking about way after the credits roll. Dune is a film that I feel like might disappoint a lot of people, because I'm going to just get this right off the bat. Dune, like you've probably heard by now, but just in case you haven't, Dune is a part 1. Yes, the film isn't marketed as Dune Part 1, it's just marketed as simply Dune, but when the title card in the film comes, it says Dune Part 1. So the film ends with a pretty dissatisfying ending. Most of the plot lines are completely unresolved, because hopefully, if they decide to make a Dune, or to better word it, if they can make a Dune Part 2, it will be resolved there. So I just want to completely get that out of the way. If you're thinking Dune 2021 is going to give you everything you wanted in this one packaged film, it's not. Because Dune, knowing what I know about Dune, which is barely anything, but what I have heard is Dune, kind of like Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien, is a massive world. So try to put that into a screenplay, kind of like how Peter Jackson had a big uphill to do to make The Lord of the Rings into a trilogy, and then later The Hobbit. It's massive, it's big in scope, so to try to constrive that would be literally impossible. So to try to get to every single little detail is literally impossible, but to be honest, Dune Part 1, which I'm going to call that from now on, Dune Part 1, is not a setup movie, but it kind of is. It kind of reminded me of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. It has a beginning, it has a middle, but it doesn't have an end. It just has whenever Part 2 comes out, just immediately pop in Part 2. And I feel like this is how I'm going to watch Dune when Part 2 comes out. Okay, Dune Part 1's done, let's immediately pop in Dune Part 2 and have a 5.5 hour marathon. I think that's how people are going to have to watch Dune when or hopefully whenever Part 2 comes out. So I just want to tell you, it's a Part 1. Another thing, just a couple disclaimers going into this. Zendaya, which has been marketed in all the trailers and the poster, she's barely in the movie. She's in it, so if you've seen this film just for her, which is kind of weird, she's in it. She's in the dream sequences, obviously, that Paul has, and then she's in a little bit at the end. I'm sure she's going to be in Part 2 a lot more, but just know that going up front. Also, this is not a Star Wars or a Lord of the Rings. The trailer's marketing as the next Star Wars or the next Lord of the Rings is pretty stupid. This is not an action movie. There's a couple of action sequences, a few, then they're very rare in Dune Part 1 at least, and they're fantastic and really well executed, and it is really exciting when they're there, but this is not an action movie. This film is all about characters and all about building a world, and I'm sure Dune Part 2, when everything hits the fan, I'm sure that's when we'll get the action in the battles that the trailers told us we'll get. Now that the disclaimers are out of the way, let's actually talk about the film. The film is masterfully directed. The direction and cinematography and production design and visual effects and ships and suits and costumes and performances and visuals and action sequences. Everything on a technical standpoint in Dune is flawless. It's visually the best film of the year. The action sequences, even though very brief, are still fantastic. The performances, all of them are great. The one that really surprised me was Timothée Chalamet, an actor I don't think I've seen anything that he's been in before, but he's great, and I'm really excited to see him in more things. Obviously, Josh Brolin, everybody just does a fantastic job in this film. Also, just one more disclaimer. Dave Bautista has been marketed like Zendaya, like he's in the film. He is in the film, but not much. So if you're going in this film for Dave Bautista, he's not in the film much. He's in the film, but not much. Okay, enough disclaimers. The film is long. Nearly 2 hours and 40 minutes long. It's a long movie. But the film, because the world is so interesting, because the characters are so complex and interesting and shrouded in mystery, especially our main character, Paul, you don't feel the runtime. At least for me personally, I didn't feel the runtime. If I had to go for some problems with the film, yes, some of the plot lines and the ending is pretty just kind of, that's it, but it's a part one. My main problem with the film, and something I've been hearing a lot, is Dune is kind of lifeless, and I mean that not in a bad way. What I mean by that is characters die in the film, some pretty big names too, I'm not going to spoil who, and I'm just kind of like, wow, that really stinks. I really like them characters, but I'm not really like, man, I'm super distressed about these people that I didn't know much about. I like them, they're cool people, and they're fun, and I really like the actors, but we don't know much about our side characters, really. They're big names, and that's about it. I don't know much about them. I think that's probably my main problem with Dune, is the characters, besides Paul and some others, are pretty dense, and they're not really that interesting. We don't really know much about them. And I would like to know more about the characters, but the characters I was like, oh, I would like to know more about them, or I would love to learn more about these relationships between certain characters. I can't, because those characters die in the film. So I think that's my main problem with Dune, is it's pretty emotionally lifeless. Like, after the film, I'm like, I really love that, but in terms of the emotional weight of the film, it's really not there. But guys, I implore you to see Dune. It's a fantastic film, one of the best films of the year. I don't think it is the best film of the year, but I surely really adored Dune, and I'm going to give Dune Part 1 an A-. So those are my thoughts on Dune Part 1. What did you guys think of this? I'll love to know your guys' thoughts down in the comment section below. And as always, guys, keep talking movie.